It is 7 o'clock.
Okay, good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome. We will start our meeting with our inspiration. Our inspiration for today is Jill Roaring.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I found an inspiration which is, shall we say, inspired by a Shakespeare quote. Although I cannot tell you what play the quote is from, I didn't do that part of my research. Okay. It is not written in stone what you are to experience in your lifetime. The heavens do not dictate your destiny, but rather you do. It is up to each and every one of us to create the lives we want. Your destiny is what you make it. And the quote is, it is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but ourselves. Maybe Katie knows where that one is from.
One of the Henrys, I think. I don't know. Good job. Great job, Jill.
Thank you. And now for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'm going to turn the meeting over to Kate, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Madam Treasurer. Let me see who we have on here. We're up to 18. I know we'll have some stragglers. Whoops. All right. We have in the house today, whoops, wrong side, Shakespeare. Shakespeare. Those of you who came on early, thank you. Some of you may have noticed we have some visitors in the house. Isabella just gave us her inspiration, and I see Macbeth and I see Shylock. What I would love for everybody to do is something I did way back for a different theme. I'm going to revisit this. Today, I don't see Sylvia and Margot and Steve, etc. I see Shakespearean characters or plays. I would love each of you to pick to be today a different Shakespearean character or play, and you can just make it up if you'd rather. There are over 1,000 characters in Shakespeare's plays. I'd love for you to pick a real character. So I'll share a screen. You know what I'll do? I'll drop links into the chat also. You could just Google on the side. For those of you getting handy at using multiple devices, if you have one, play around or sharing screens. That's your next challenge if you don't already do that. And be thinking Romeo, Juliet, Hamlet, Othello, Julius Caesar. Who are you today? If you're comfortable with actually sharing your name on screen like I did, look, I'm your Toastmaster, William Shakespeare, today. So pick a character or pick a play, and I'll put some in the chat. And I did share a screen earlier for anybody on earlier. Oops, let's see if I do it wrong. I'm on the agenda too. I was also saying if anybody can have any luck in adding this agenda as a document. I know that some of you are very tech savvy, and I was having issues with that a few minutes ago, and I'm juggling a few too many things. So I would love, get off again. I would love. Okay, so mute yourselves if you're not talking, and we will get to the lineup. So here's a shared screen of some of the characters from Twelfth Night. Olivia, Fabian, we have lots of different characters. Maybe Sir Aguecheek or Toby Belch. There's a lot of funny things on here. If you pick a priest or a soldier or a midwife, that's fine because there are hundreds of characters, like I said, over 1,000. Here are some of the more common ones and some quotes at the bottom. Shakespeare might be something many of you think, oh, it's dry, it's boring. I've only seen about 10 of you at our Shakespeare in the Delaware Park trips that we have taken, and only a handful of us were out last week to see Midsummer Night's Dream at the Keenan Center. That's okay. I would love to really get into it. In an hour and a half, we don't have enough time, but Shakespeare was crazy. Shakespeare was taught to me in college by an excellent professor who really got into the life of Shakespeare. And you know what? A lot of the Shakespearean plays that you may have read or teachers that taught you, you weren't allowed to say and do some of the things when you were in ninth grade, 10th grade. Those teachers would have been fired in public schools in the United States if they taught some of the deeper meanings of Shakespeare. It might have made the students a little more interested. We'll get into some of that maybe, but I'd love for you to pick a character. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you just kind of make up, well, today I'm going to be Mercutio. I don't know who the heck he is or what play he is from, but make it up. We are here to be better at improvising and making things up and sounding credible. I'm not saying fake it till you make it, but sometimes we do fake it till we make it in certain situations. So this is a space for us today to have a little bit of fun. Now, I would like to get into the lineup. And did anybody drop the agenda into the meeting chat? Okay, well, I'm not the only one having. Usually that's simple, and a lot of us do that. So I will share my screen again, and we will get right into the agenda of today. And get back off of here. There we go. Where is my toe? Get off there. There we go. Okay. So today we have, I would like you to just, when I introduce you, come right onto the screen, and you can explain who you are today, who or what play, and why. Make it up if you wish. And then your role, and we'll get right to it. Our word master today, WAG master, is Mark. Mark, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Sorry, Kate, I'm going to exercise my God-given right as a Toastmaster to go my own way. I am not picking a character. I am not a big fan. Sorry, I apologize for that. But today I am the triple threat Toastmaster. I am the WAG master. My first role is to listen for ahs and ums and all the filler words we want to avoid. My second job is to listen for excellent use and or abuse of the English language. And my third and final role as word master is to give you a word to try to incorporate into your speaking today. Now, I do understand and appreciate the significance of William Shakespeare in terms of his literary contributions. I get it, even though I'm not a fan. However, I did research a little bit, and I came to understand that he is credited with creating a great number of words. And the word I would like you to use today is credited as a Shakespearean creation. That word is swagger. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, Shakespeare used the word swagger to describe someone who walks with an arrogant or pompous attitude. According to dictionary.com, it is to walk with a strut or with a defiant or insolent air, or
How
to
many words
boast
did
or
Shakespeare
brag
create
nosily.
in the English language?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Regardless. So please try to use the word swagger today. And in particular, during table topics, I expect all the contestants to not only use the word, but I want to see your swagger as well, Madam Toastmaster.
I apologize, Mark. I was not muted. I meant to be muted. You reminded me. I'm so glad you used a word of the day. We got some swagger. This man here has some swagger. I know a lot of you do too. It reminded me how many words we have heard from Shakespeare. I wondered how many. So I was trying to ask my other device, how many words did Shakespeare create that we still use in the English language? Folks, 1,700 plus. What? Obviously, he used thousands and thousands of words in his language. Mark, you are forgiven, and you apologized. Another cardinal sin. We don't say sorry here in Toastmasters. I'll give you that. You had the other one. No big deal. Let's get back to our lineup of the day. And we have next our quote master. We didn't have anybody sign up for that. There was a drop. So those of you in the background that do not have a role, you could raise your hand or speak up, or we can come back to that. So if you'd like to look up a quote from Shakespeare Although if this doesn't happen, we'll talk plenty about quotes. Mark is forgiven. Many of you are not into Shakespeare. Again, you weren't introduced maybe in a way that you could be engaged with it. So I wish that you will come with us to Shakespeare in the Park this summer. I'll explain that later. I do not see Anne Marie in the space as jester. Please speak up if anybody hears me otherwise. Dave Channon is on as our timer, and he is out. I will update you when I know more. He said he wouldn't be here for 2 to 4 weeks for a minor surgery, and so we will keep Dave Channon in our thoughts. Instead, Mark or Len or Larry, I don't recall.
Yeah, Larry will be doing the timing.
Larry is doing our timing. You guys are amazing. Okay, let's move on to our quiz master, Beth Banks. You know what? 1 second, Beth, before we roll in, for our Esther's our guest again. I saw her. This you don't have access to yet. Once you're a member, everybody has access to our website and our agenda. Right now, you could just have access to the public part of our page. But anyway, let's keep rolling. And Beth, go ahead. As quizmaster, please share what your role is today. And who are you in Shakespeare? Play along if you wish.
I named myself Desdemona. I like the name. I'm not really sure exactly how I remember the story, but I like the name. My role today is your quizmaster. And throughout the meeting, I will be listening carefully for details about the meeting, what people say, and then I will quiz you at the end. Apparently, people think I can make quizzes well. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Desdemona. Desdemona was in Othello's wife, actually, Venetian noblewoman. Lovely, lovely name. Excellent as quizmaster. Pick a name because I like that name. I like that reason. That's good enough for me. Table topics. Carol Ann Halstead. I believe I saw you, Carol. Oh, wait, I'm jumping around too much. Well, table topics, let's not do that quite yet. We already have timer. Let's get back. Did anybody was interested in doing a quote or a jest? Otherwise, we will continue and circle back. Let's do that at the end. I don't see anybody raise. Oh, wait, Macbeth. Macbeth is in the house. What is he? I have a guess what he might want to be. Macbeth, go for it. Pick a role and go for it.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. What did the English teacher say to her students before teaching Shakespeare? Anybody? Brace yourselves, winter is coming.
Haha.
And I'll do one more for you. How did Shakespeare's friends try to cheer him up when he was down?
I don't know. How?
They gave him a midsummer night's beam.
Wah, wah. Thank you, Macbeth. Why did you choose to be Macbeth today? Any reason?
I think it was a great read, and plus I saw the 70s version, which was very gruesome at the end, but another day.
All right. Thank you, Macbeth, for the jest. Any quotes?
Madam
Anybody?
Toastmaster.
I have quotes.
All right, Jill. Isabella, quotes. Take it away. Why did you choose Isabella today?
I like the name.
Good enough.
I have a bunch of quotes because they were all part of this whole thing that I did. All right. Again, I don't know where they came from other than William Shakespeare. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. I think that might be from Macbeth. I'm not sure. Or one of the king ones. Okay. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. And that goes to the 2 ears, 1 mouth. And this one, I think a lot of people will like. I would give all my fame for a pot of ale and safety. Thank you, William Shakespeare. Back to you.
Thank you, Isabella. Very nice. I didn't know where heavy is the head that wears the crown came from either, although there are so many king plays. So I Googled it, of course. Henry IV said it. Of course, it makes sense to describe the difficulties of leadership. Eric, I'm sorry, Macbeth is our president right now. Heavy is the head that wears the crown here in Toastmasters. Okay, I think that I will invite our general evaluator up. Our general evaluator, let's see, is at the bottom of the agenda, and I think it's Steve Smith today. Steve, general evaluator, share with us what your role is and who are you today?
Good morning. Actually, I was in a Shakespeare play, and I played a role. Get ready for this. I played an old man. Now, it was a comedy of errors. I cannot remember my character's name this many years down the road, but I was the father of the two sets of twins who I had not seen in years. I was separated from my wife, who I got reunited with toward the end of the play. And it was kind of funny. The woman who was playing my wife in this play had played my wife in several plays that I appeared in. So when we went to a cast party, I went in with Jill and I want to introduce my wife and my girlfriend.
Excellent.
So my role as general evaluator is to evaluate the whole tone of the meeting, to evaluate the evaluators, because we all need the feedback for improvement, all of us. And I will do my report when called upon to do so.
I just muted myself. Thank you very much. What do I say? Old man number one. Excellent. Well, great, Steve. Thank you. Okay. Before we get into table topics, but that will be next, and anybody can speak up if we have forgotten anything. Before we get into table topics, I will let us know. You may have seen this if you're on Facebook or you saw your emails, but save the date. Friday, August 16th. Friday, August 16th, we will be doing our next outing at Shakespeare in Delaware Park. For anyone unfamiliar with Shakespeare in Delaware Park, they're having their 49th summer this summer. It's free theater. There is a beautiful permanent stage that is set up. They're big sponsors right now, M&T Bank, etc. And they have free performances on the hill behind the Rose Garden at Delaware Park, overlooking the lake. Now, for the last maybe, 7 or 8 years, a small contingency of us have gone. Sometimes we've had 10 people. Sometimes we've had more or less. And we picnic and enjoy free Shakespeare. And we show up early, anybody who can, to save our space, somewhat in the shade under the trees. But you can bring blankets or chairs. If you're unfamiliar, folks that are close to the stage can sit only on blankets or towels. Behind a certain line is where then chairs can be set up. We always have a space right along that border. So any of our folks coming, ourselves, our friends, our families who are comfortable either way. We've had kids there. We've had folks who need to be in chairs. You bring your own, you bring a cooler, bring a picnic, and enjoy yourself. So that is going to be a fun show that our old man number one, Steve, just mentioned. Comedy of Errors. There's always 2 plays in the Delaware Park summertime. The first half of the season, the first half of the summer, they always do a traditional portrayal of some Shakespearean show. And the second half of the summer, they do a traditional Shakespeare show in a modern way, in a different kind of a twist. So the picture would allude to the fact that we've got something going on, maybe a little disco. I'm not sure, but we got some bell bottoms. We got some of the visual from Comedy of Errors that's on our Facebook page. Maybe I'll pull that up and share the screen. But I would rather jump right into table topics and give Carol Ann Halstead the opportunity and the rest of who she chooses to impromptu speak. Remember to speak in our club for 1.5 to 2 minutes. The timers, you're going to watch the lights that timer. Would you like to introduce yourself, Shylock? And then we'll do table topics.
I have to go.
Shylock, you're up. What's timing, roles, etc. The details.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Shylock will be our timer today, and the role as timer, I will be following along with our speeches, 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. You will see the green light at 1.5, the yellow light at 2, and then the red light at 2, or no, 1:45, and then the red light at 2. On speeches, 5 to 7 minutes. 5 minutes will be the green, yellow at 6, red at 7. For the evaluators, it's 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes, you will see the green. 2.5, you will see the yellow. And at 3 minutes, you will see the red. I will be giving my report when I am called upon as timer today. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thanks for showing us some of your swagger, Shylock. On to Carol Ann. Carol Ann, who are you portraying today if you're playing along? And give us some questions.
Actually, I just looked up a character that was close to my name and chose Coriolanus, who happened to be a Roman leader in one of Shakespeare's plays. Now, actually, I've chosen some Shakespeare quotes to have my participants discuss. And each one of you, the main thing is you do have to use the word swagger. Joe Budnick, are you available?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This quote, I believe, is from Twelfth Night. It says, "Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them." When I read this, I thought of sometimes an assassination of a president through the vice president into the role of president. Or actually, I've thought of, in so many cases, maybe the parents haven't really stepped up to their responsibilities, and so many grandparents nowadays are thrust into the greatness of raising children. Can you give an example of maybe someone that was thrust into greatness?
Someone who was thrust into greatness.
Yes.
Well, I guess the most I can think of is there was a couple times when I worked some jobs that I really wasn't prepared for, and I was not trained properly to do them. So I was kind of thrust in a couple of, workplace environments that, I really didn't belong there, I don't think. And suffice to say, they didn't last long. But I use those as a learning experience. Some jobs work out, some jobs do not. You find out in life where you belong. Fortunately, right now, I am working for the Lockport school system. I consider that a great position that I'm in. I enjoy working with the kids. I have wonderful coworkers. And you can't be bitter. So some jobs don't work out. Some jobs just are not for you. And you simply move on. You don't live in the past. I've learned you move forward and use it as a learning experience. You learn from the past, hope for the future, but you live in the present. And that's something I've learned. And I don't, in my new job, I don't swagger around and think, I'm perfect, because every day is a learning experience. Every day you learn something new. And it's something that I enjoy doing. And if I had to pick a Shakespeare character I'd like to portray, I think I'd probably play Orlando from As You Like It. I saw that play in Fredonia years and years ago, and it was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. So, thank you, Ms. Table Topics Master. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Esther, would you like to be a participant this morning?
Sure.
Okay.
The quote I'd give you is neither a borrower nor a lender be. Now, do you think this is good advice?
So the quote, neither a borrower nor a lender be, is not one that I am terribly familiar with. So immediately when you say that, I have more questions than answers. I wonder where the quote came from, which play. I wonder what the context of it was. And with it being a Shakespearean quote, there certainly is a little bit of guilt also associated with the fact that it is not one that I am familiar with. So, with the quote, neither a borrower nor a lender be, it leaves a lot up for me for interpretation. And I'm not quite sure what direction to go with it. So, with being a borrower, you're borrowing from someone. And with being a lender, you are the person doing the lending. So, I suppose in life, we have been both things. Occasionally, we are the person who needs to do the borrowing. And occasionally, we are the person that needs to do the lending. Although I do think if you are the person doing the lending, you probably have a bit more swagger than the person doing the borrowing.
Thank you. Now, let's see, Margot, are you available for table topics?
Yep, I'm here today.
Okay. Here's a quote that actually has been misquoted. The quote I'm talking about is, "The fault is not in our stars, but in ourselves." Now, I was wondering, did you happen to read the book by John Green, which is misquoted saying the fault in our stars? I wondered if you read that book and maybe saw the movie, or if you haven't, maybe there's another book that was made into a movie that you were impressed with.
Thank you for this opportunity, Carol, to speak and use a great word like swagger, which I see a lot of people swaggering around after they've been drinking a little bit here at the winery. Esther, one thing you may not know about Toastmasters table topics is you don't have to answer the question at all. You can change it completely or make something up. So I'm going to talk about my favorite use of Shakespeare, Kiss Me Kate. Kiss Me Kate is a retelling of The Taming of the Shrew, and one of the best songs in there is Brush Up Your Shakespeare, where two of the gangsters who are trying to kidnap somebody and get their money back are trying to explain to a young man how to attract a woman using Shakespeare quotes. And at least in the film, the dancing and the singing is absolutely wonderful. It's a very humorous retelling of the story for those who haven't seen it. And for those who know me well, know I really do love musicals, but what I can't do is sing. So I will sing along with the musical anyway. In fact, there's a running joke in our family that's what's the similarity between mom giving a speech and mom singing? I don't use notes for either one. And that is how my children view my singing, which makes it very difficult when you're trying to lead a service at temple and be in charge of the music. So I'm changed your question completely, Carol, but I advise everyone, if you like Shakespeare, or even if you don't like Shakespeare and want to find a new telling of it, check out Kiss Me Kate, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Margot. Now back to our Toastmaster, Kate.
Thank you so much. Carolonius, probably from Julius Caesar. I did not look that up. Thanks. Great work. May I have a timer's report from Shylock, please?
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. The timer's report. Joe was at 1 minute and 46 seconds. Esther, 1 minute 37 seconds. And Margot, 1 minute 45 seconds. All three qualify.
And excellent. And a word master report for table topics from Mark.
Madam Toastmaster, I am pleased to report that all three contestants exhibited a great deal of swagger and used the word accordingly. Margot used it twice. So all three contestants qualified. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. Everybody qualified. Shortly, you will see a poll for Joe or Esther or Margot. I know that, Joe, what character did you say you were? I don't see it on there, so I did not write that down. From something you saw a while ago. Anyway.
It was years ago when I was in high school. I saw a production of As You Like It at Fredonia.
And so who are you? Are you As You Like It?
Orlando.
Orlando.
Yeah.
Orlando or Mercutio, or maybe Margot is Kate. I'm not sure if she picked a different character.
Thank you.
Looks like she has competition with Jackie, who's also going to be our Catherine from Taming of the Shrew. So go ahead and vote, please. And then we'll move on. I'm going to go into this briefly, just a kind of little quick chat about what our table topics folks said, and then we'll launch into our prepared speeches. As You Like It, fantastic show. I've seen it several times, not as far back as high school. So Joe, I'm a little jealous. I think I didn't see any professional theater until I was past high school, but we played around with it. As You Like It was done at Shaw Fest some years back in a modern way. Hilarious. Now, Esther's quote that our Carolonius shared, Mercutio talked about neither a borrower nor a lender be. I did not know what it was from either, so I looked it up. It's from Hamlet. It was when Polonius was guiding his son Laertes in that advice. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, because it can lead to losing both the money and the friendship. Apparently, it's from a Bible verse that says pretty much the same thing. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, for loan oft loses both itself and friend. A lot of Shakespeare was drawn from previous works, Greek and Roman and Hebrew, the Bible. There's a lot that is the origins. We won't get into all that today. I love that Margot tapped into Kiss Me, Kate. That's one of my favorites in Taming of the Shrew, not only because it is my name, but so much resonates with that storyline and all of its reworks. I love also there are so many modern versions of earlier shows. A lot of people don't realize. We went and saw at Shaw Festival more modern performance of, well, you know what, I'll get into this if we do have time. That's not tied to Shakespeare. Anyway, it's tied to George Bernard Shaw. Let us get into our prepared speeches. I'll go back briefly to our share screen because I was going to ask, does anybody know before I share the screen where I am now? William Shakespeare has left the building, but where am I? This
theater.
I knew that some of us would know this. I'm going to slide down so you can see this amazing stage. And I know that Jackie, I think, has been there in person. I've never seen it. I know a few of you have. The Globe Theater's still there. It's a 16th century structure from England. And look at how this was. Open air. These performances were like a day-long festival. Folks would show up in the beginning of the day. The folks would get the standing spaces if they were in the lower classes and could afford maybe a halfpenny or a get in for less. And then the folks up in the boxes were usually the higher classes. Maybe they owned it or they bought it for the day. There would be so much going on for hours and hours, other dancing and acrobats and people selling fruits and snacks for people to eat, or rotten fruits for people to buy to then throw out of excitement, out of telling the performers they didn't like the show, or they would throw rotten fruits and vegetables at villains to be part of the show. And it was an expected kind of a thing. There was a lot going on. eating, drinking, carousing, and a lot of things happen with crowds of people down here. And so some folks were very against the theater because of the body side of what was happening, the filth of the classes, the activities that were going on. There was crime, there was pickpocketing, there were a lot of things going on, prostitution around the theater. These things happened. It was a living kind of like community center, not like what we consider when we go to the theater today. It's a very different experience altogether. Okay, we're going to get into our agenda and let's see. I lost my agenda, so come back.
Oh, come on.
Okay. God, David, I didn't print it. I should have printed it, right? All right. So we have our evaluator. Jackie is evaluating David. He is ready. David and Jackie, go ahead and introduce him. We don't have to come back to me.
Thank you. And good morning, everyone. I would swagger from stage right as Kate the Shrew. Feeling that part this morning, being up so early. All right. We are going to listen to David this morning, giving us a speech from Innovative Planning. It is the, oh, I got strange noises here. It is my phone is interrupting me, and I apologize for that. So, David will be using descriptive language in this speech today, trying to give us his perception and his point of view. And I look forward to hearing from him with another rant. Dave Licata with another rant.
Good morning. If I had to pick a Shakespearean character, I guess I would be Bottom from Midsummer Night's Dream, because he tried to organize a little theater group in the woods. And of course, he was rewarded by the little pixies and fairies putting a donkey head on his head. But enough about my mood. Here's my rant. Now, in the past, I've ranted about Lucille Ball versus Jack Benny. I've ranted about Alan Freed versus George the Hound Lorenz. I always thought that Jack Benny was funnier than Lucille Ball, and there would be no Alan Freed, the quote, father of rock and roll, without him ripping off our own George Lorenz in Buffalo. So my contention is, my rant is that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does indeed belong in Buffalo. But now, and this always comes into question, and it gets me nuts during the summer. I miss watermelons, folks. I miss that big oblong watermelon with the seeds. It's driving me crazy. Now I go in the supermarket and they got these little bocce ball sized melons with no seeds and no flavor. That's the whole key. They're driving me nuts. At least I like to take that oblong watermelon, slice it this way. And if you hollowed it out, you could use it as a kayak and go fishing. So I want my big, long, oblong watermelon back. I want the seeds back. I want the flavor back. And now I found out to my abject horror that the Japanese are working on square watermelons. That's nuts, because they'll be easier to ship and they'll be easier to store. So that's what they're working on. That's what's in our future. That's what's driving me nuts. Now, after watermelons, what is driving me nuts? All right. Oh, thanks to my boss, Margot, she used to send me to the Batavia Farmers Market. And I would be between two farms, the Nice Farm and the Partica Farm, with my wine table. and they both had peaches, delicious, fleshy, tasty peaches. So someone has to explain to me why nectarines are necessary. I don't get it. They don't taste like a peach. They don't have that beautiful orange yellow color like a peach. And they just don't stack up next to a peach. Nectarines are some kind of fruit that they invented that by taking the idea of a peach. But another good thing about working for Margot Sue Bittner is that you get to know Jimmy Bittner, her husband. And this man knows fruit. So whenever I have this hard question about what the hell is going on with the fruit, luckily I cross paths with Jimmy and he brings me up to speed. And I said, Jim, come on, nectarines. Why? Why did they even bother? And sadly, that hardworking man has to remind me that nectarines come into play because people don't like the fuzz on the peaches. Are you serious? Are you serious? All you got to do, walk over to the sink. Matter of fact, you can even swagger over to the sink. Turn on the water, run some cold water over that peach, give it a little rub. Bingo! No more. No more fuzz. But people are too lazy. I just don't get it. Nectarines, I can live without them. I think I've had 3 in my lifetime. It's peaches. How did we get so lazy and so adverse to little peach fuzz that we had to invent nectarines? This makes me crazy. Now, it's about 5 months away. It's about 5 months away. So let's get to the final thing that drives me nuts. Thanksgiving hits, and you go to the produce section of the store, voila, tangerines, telling you it's Christmas time. Well, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, when's the last time you saw a tangerine in the produce section of a store at Christmas time? I think it's been 3 years for me. So this really aggravates me. Now they have mandarin oranges instead of nectarines. They have kumquats. They have all these other little beauties. And nothing screams tangerine like Christmas, and tangerines scream Christmas right back. So once again, we've lost another treat. And once again, the tangerines, I found out from my dear friend Jim Bittner, brought me up to speed again on that fruit, told me that the watermelons and the tangerines, what they have in common is people's aversion to seeds. Come on. You have any idea how many watermelon seeds I consumed? And I mean, I made it to 75 and I'm hoping to be like Phil and make it to 115. So I eat my seeds. It hasn't hurt me yet, to my knowledge. But people are horrified. And plus, and this getting back to lazy again, tangerines are a little hard to peel. Even though when I looked them up, one of their virtues was that they were easy to peel in one description on the internet. But then again, Jimmy told me they're hard to peel. Some people consider them hard to peel, and everybody, a good number of people are averse to the seeds. So this is my third speech in my series, Rants. And the first one, of course, referring back to the fact that I think Jack Benny's funnier than Lucille Ball. And I think George the Hounds Loren of Buffalo, New York, invented rock and roll, and Alan Freed ripped him off. and thought today I would add fruit to my rant. I want my big watermelon back, that big oblong. I want never to see another nectarine again as long as I live. And would it kill you? Would it kill the people that are behind this conspiracy to bring back tangerines so I can have a real Christmas? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Nick Bottom. Ah, Nick Bottom has watermelon angst, fruit angst today. If you do, Nick Bottom, start a theater in the woods, I will definitely join your theater troupe. And don't anybody bring nectarines to throw at us. Back to now, our second evaluator. I took the time to print the agenda, so here we go. You don't have to keep sharing screen with me. Our second speaker will be Larry McKenzie today. Mike Licata, can you please share with us his role and also just introduce him today? We don't have to come back to me. Mike Licata.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. One of my favorite characters from Shakespeare is Puck the Fairy, as David alluded to about the Nick Bottom experience. Puck was the lead fairy that started causing all the mayhem. So that is one of the reasons why Puck is one of my favorite Shakespeare characters this morning. Larry is working out of the humorously speaking path. Mr. Timer. So speech is a little bit different. It's a little bit more unique. I'm actually when I saw this, I was very excited for it. This morning, Larry is giving us two 3-minute speeches delivered in the same meeting. So, Mr. Timer, it's going to be two separate timing lights, 2.5, 3 minutes for two speeches. And the purpose of this project is for the member to develop their method for giving impromptu speeches and practice adapting rehearsed stories during a presentation. It is the power of humor and impromptu speech. And the speech title is Impromptu Speaking. Larry McKenzie, Impromptu Speaking.
It was a very warm September afternoon when we were getting ready to hop onto the bus. We were heading to our football game for Falstaff High School. We were taking on the Amphibios of Syracuse. Now, we had this wonderful coach, and it was Coach Montague, and our assistant coach was Friar Lawrence. Now, they were hard on us with getting ready to play this game because they had the league best quarterback, and his name was McDuff. And they had this running back who could run by anyone. His name was Nick Bottom. He could just run like crazy. Well, we had our own team. Hamlet and Horatio and I jumped on the bus. Our quarterback wasn't feeling quite well that day, so we weren't sure who was going to be the hero of the afternoon when we got to play. Well, the game started. Our cheerleaders came out. Now, our cheerleaders, we had the Weird Sisters, and there was also 3 of our cheerleaders that we thought were 3 witches, but we're not quite sure. So the game begins, and all of a sudden we're going back and forth the score, and our quarterback, who normally is playing, was on the sidelines. It comes down to the fourth quarter. What's going to happen? They're ahead by 3 points. We finally get the ball back. As we get the ball back, the coach calls timeout. We all go to the sideline and we're talking. Now, Coach Montague and Friar Lawrence, they're talking to us saying, all right, boys, we got to get ready. This is our last chance. We're going to bring in our quarterback who hasn't been able to play the whole game. Now, onto the field, we all run with our quarterback. And our quarterback had this swagger about him as he walked onto the field. Our quarterback's name was Romeo. And why was he called Romeo? Because he had 2 ladies looking to grab his hand. Lady Capulet and Lady Macbeth. Those were the two girls that all the boys were chasing. But Romeo, he didn't think that any of us had a chance. Romeo comes on the field. He drops back to pass. He throws the ball. Hamlet catches it, runs to, he makes it to the 1 yard line. We have one play left. There's 4 seconds left in the game. Can we do it? Well, we get in a huddle. Romeo says, look, boys, we got to do this. We got to show them our secret play. So we go out to the line. Everybody goes to the one side of the field. It's just me as the center. Shylock, I hike the ball back to Romeo. Romeo runs, hops over my back into the end zone, and Falstaff High wins the game. Hence, you never know what happens. Part 1. Now, I had the opportunity the other day, last Thursday, it was our reunion weekend for high school. It was our 50th class reunion. The day before that, on Thursday, we had the great opportunity of going to a book signing by a gentleman that was part of our class. His name is Robert Simpson, great player on our football team, wonderful player on our golf team, and he was just an all-around wonderful person. Well, Robert wrote his second book, and the book is called And Then It Happened. We went to the book signing at the new high school. While we were there at the high school, I had the opportunity to come up on stage and help him read one of the chapters of his book. It was, I guess you would say, an interesting feeling because Robert is a wonderful storyteller. I would recommend his book, even if you don't know the characters in it, which were most of the people as we grew up. The book is called And Then It Happened. A local writer. It's a great piece of writing, whereas Toastmasters, we're looking on different ways that we can tell a story because it personalizes our speeches. Reading Robert's book, you'll see how he begins each little chapter, and he ends them almost like he's drawn you in and he doesn't want to let you go. Now that's a storyteller. I enjoyed reading his book. I enjoyed being part of that. And the interesting part about it was the title, because he drew you in with his story, and then he would give you that climax ending, which was, and then it happened. So I would say that his book has a lot of swagger to it. And as a Toastmaster, I was reading parts of it, and I was going to actually use that as the second half of my speech today. Then I said, you know what? I will just talk about the book off the cuff and see what happens with that. So if you're interested in this book, please reach out to me. I'm doing a book sale now, and it is called And Then It Happened by Robert Simpson. Thank you very much for the opportunity today to not only promote his book, but also as myself, Mr. Shylock. I was a little, afraid of maybe giving the pitch for his book, but I did. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Shylock. Not so shy today. We will move on to our third speaker, who is Phil Russell. He's being evaluated by Olivia today. Sylvia, if you could tell us why you chose Olivia and then introduce Phil, and go ahead. You don't have to bring it back to me. Olivia.
Okay. Well, just to piggyback on Larry's book signing, my sister was in town for that. She was at the 50th high school reunion this past week, and it was great seeing her. I haven't seen her in over a year. And Bob Simpson's a great guy. He lived down the street from us. This morning, I get the pleasure of introducing Phil Russell as speaker number 3. And he is working in the dynamic Leadership Level 1, Research and Presenting a Project. And this project, he needs to learn, which I'm pretty sure he knows, probably teach us, how to do research and what methods he's using. He could do the speech in a humorous, informational, any which path he chooses. But it cannot be a book report type of speech. His title is War to Peace. It's 5 to 7 minutes, Mr. Timer. And Phil reached out to me yesterday and we emailed each other back and forth, and I asked him what he wanted me to focus on, and he said to focus on storytelling of the speech and make sure it makes sense. So this morning I am introducing Phil Russell.
Now you could start your timing when I'm done here. I am a ghost from far back, 500 BC. 500 BC. I hear this one in Hamlet. I go back and forth. I don't know you people, but I'll tell you a story. A good story about what happens in the future. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. The Persians! The Persians! They're attacking! They're going to swagger onto our beach! The Persians are here to attack! Philippides! Philippides! Go to Athens! Go to Athens! And tell the Spartan government the Persians are attacking! The year is 590 BC. Philippides is the day runner, a courier. He's going to run from Marathon, Greece to Athens to let them know the Persians are attacking. He gets to the Spartan government and they say, run back, see how the battle goes. Philippides runs back. He gets there. Good news. Good news. They won. They pushed the Persians right back into the sea. He runs back. Go back, Philippides. Go back to Athens and let them know of what happened. Philippides runs back to Athens from Marathon. He gets there. Joy! We win! He drops dead. Myth or truth? It is documented someplace around 290 BC. No, 120 BC. Let's go to there. Hence the marathon. Interesting. The war. The war. The implement of war. Now, what happened back then? Myth or truth? Well, when the myth becomes better than the truth, stick with the myth. Now, what's interesting, we are now entering into the Olympics. The Olympics are games that were started because of war. Added to the running was the spear, modern days called the javelin. How about the rock? The shot put. The spear, the javelin. We take rocks from the beach and we make them nice and smooth and round, and we whip them. Hence the discus. all of these events were started. And the Greeks, the Athenians, the Spartans said, let's have games to see who's the best, who's the fastest, who can throw the javelin the farthest, the shot put the farthest, the discus the farthest. We'll not be throwing it at people, we'll just be throwing for distance. So we'll go to the great pavilion in Athens, up on Mount Olympus, and we'll have a game. It started with the city-states of Greece. They all joined in, sent their best warriors, runners, throwers. What they did was just send their very best, and they competed. Then, the world started to hear about these games. They sent their best to Olympus. Interesting. They added all the implements of war into a peaceful game. It happened way back, and it started in 590 BC when Philippides ran, in again, myth or truth, 150 miles in 2 days. The marathon, though, 26 miles, 385 yards. That doesn't add up to doing it 3 times, it doesn't add up to that. So what we say now, in the modern Olympics, they brought to fruition, they've added many, many things. Some people think it's a little crazy. I think it's entertainment. The original Olympics were to just pit man and his devices against other men and in a contest of who could do better. Now there's evaluation. People are judged. I mean, I love gymnastics. Swimming is great. Diving is one of my favorites. I go, how did they do that? And gymnastics, unbelievable. So we went from a war to a game to now the modern Olympics to peaceful games to bring the world together. War to peace. Olympics. Hey, thank you, Philippides, the marathon man. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Third speaker, Ghost. Bravo for the drama. We've had a lot of drama today. All 3 of our speakers brought the drama. Did they bring the time? How about a timers report, please? Maybe 2 timers. Larry will report on 2 of them and then Len on Larry.
Madam
Sorry,
Toastmaster, as your timer this morning, Len actually sent over the times to me, and I will report all 3. Dave, with a wonderful speech this morning, came in at 8 minutes and 12 seconds. A tad bit over the time. Phil, 6 minutes and 22 seconds. And myself, I did 2 different speeches. One was at 3 minutes and 23 seconds, and the other was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Shylock. It sounds like our second 2 speakers qualified. So we have Shylock and an ancient ghost. We have Larry or Phil is probably what will be written in the ballot that you'll see now. Excellent. Thank you very much. Please get your voting in. Now let's get right to the evaluators. We usually like to start those by 8 o'clock and it's 8:04. So we'll get right into our evaluators. I'll introduce them and then Steve, I'll introduce you later if that works for you. Perfect. Our first evaluator is Jackie Kenny, Kate from Taming of the Shrew. Jackie.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. David, experienced Toastmaster. I like the fact that he gave us a little descriptive background on his Shakespearean character to start with. And I agree with you on your opinion about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame being here in Western New York. Definitely belongs here. I guess I have to be a little bit harsh because you are our most experienced Toastmaster. You've been in it from the beginning in Lockport, so maybe 40 years as a Toastmaster. You should come in on time. Inexcusable to go over like that and knock yourself out of the voting. I also heard you start at least 6 sentences with the word now. And I heard a lot of and run-on sentences. That's a crutch that you should be able to get rid of. Maybe a little more rehearsal for your speech to buff it up so that you come in on time, even when you're ranting. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to do a speech that's a rant than you, David. You're very good at being the crotchety old man, probably a wonderful Shakespearean character in several different plays. You always bring us a lot of good language, descriptions, and passionate feelings about your characters and the things that you want to talk about. So keep up the good work, but learn when to shut up. Thank you, David, and the rest of the crew.
Thank you, Catherine. She was in character today as the shrew. Excellent. Having known Nick Bottom for many decades, you can give a thorough evaluation. Well done. Okay. Now on to our second evaluator, Puck. Join us, please. Puck, floor is
Good
yours.
morning again, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Larry. Like I said in the intro, when I saw this speech, Larry, I was excited because a lot of the prepared speeches don't give us the opportunity as Toastmasters to do impromptu speaking. Yes, we do a tremendous job here at AM Lockport with table topics and things like that. So I think as a club, we're better prepared for impromptu speaking. But I know in the past, in my own personal experiences, it is important that we work on impromptu speaking more. So I have to give you a lot of credit for picking this particular speech. I think you did a great job. You had great presence, great knowledge. You had a lot of experience as a Toastmaster, and it definitely showed this morning. One of the things that, and this isn't a critique, this is a critique more on the body of your speech. And maybe this is a little bit more of a dig at Pathways as well, because I've reread the purpose of the statement and things like that. I don't know why this is tucked into the humorously speaking track. The frustrating thing about Pathways, and again, this is me on a soapbox a little bit, is this should be in the first 3 paths with all the other boilerplate speeches and Toastmasters. So I don't, you experienced a lot. I don't think you attempted to weave a lot of humor in. There weren't some clear jokes. There weren't clear pauses for laughter or applause. But again, it goes back to reading this purposeful statement in the notes for evaluators. It's just part of the impromptu. It's just part of the humorously speaking track, but the actual evaluation form doesn't say you have to use humor in the impromptu speaking. So I do think that's a little bit of a fault of what the pathway says. But I do want to give you credit, and I want to thank you for sharing the speeches with us this morning. I emailed Kate earlier this week, kind of explaining what they were, and I'm not sure if you gave her the topics to pick or you just gave her the 2 topics that you were going to speak on impromptu. But I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, and I want to wish you good luck in selling your friend's book. Madam Toastmaster.
Bravo, Puck. Thank you very much. Next up, Olivia. Sylvia. Evaluating Phil.
Well, thank you, Phil, for your speech this morning. And you hit on the mark. It was a story. The scene quote in the beginning had me engaged. It had me, I was drawn in. I was wondering where you were going with this, and I loved it. You had great vocal variety. You used a little bit of notes, but it wasn't very obvious. It wasn't distracting. And the facts that you had, I could see why you had the notes in hand. Great facts, a lot of information. But I'm supposed to give you a suggestion, a little change here and there. And the first one is a petty one. I would change your background. Get rid of Lake Ontario and do something Olympics. I don't know. Even the rings, the 5 rings, or somebody throwing the discus or swimming, something in Olympic style. That would have been a nice improvement. And then the ending. You did, maybe because I was so wrapped up in your speech, I wanted to hear more and where you were going, because you were such a great storyteller that it kind of left me hanging. Look at the ending again. Or maybe I missed it, but I thought you could do a little bit better in the ending. And you had time. You didn't even make 7 minutes. Over the years, Phil, you have improved with the camera, the eye contact with the camera, and the voice. Like I said, the vocal variety was great. You lowered your voice. You kind of leaned into the camera to keep us drawn. I think you slammed this one almost, not quite out of the ballpark, but you were very close. You were still at the 390s on that instead of 400. And the clarity of everything of your language, it just was phenomenal. So thank you, Phil, for your speech.
Thank you, Olivia. Can we have a timer's report, please?
Madam Toastmaster, yes, you may. Our 3 evaluators this morning, Jackie, 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Mike Licata, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. And Sylvia, 2 minutes, 16 seconds. All 3 qualify.
Awesome. You will see a poll popping up shortly for our 3 evaluators. Please vote for who you think evaluated best today. All right. Now we are going into the forest. Come with me to the Midsummer Night's Dream. We've already met Nick Bottom today, and Puck is taught what to do by Oberon, King of the Fairies, and Titania, the Queen. Now I'm going to be Hermia, and I'm going to lead us in a toast. Let's go to the forest and take your beverage, whatever your beverage might be. And I would like to toast to our speakers today. All those characters, all of you who are playing along, wonderful, wonderful job. I feel like you've brought the drama to us. Phil, you got into the character. You wore your Toastmasters shirt. Very dramatized. Larry brought up more characters than the rest of us combined on his teams and in his improvisation. Somewhat prepared, somewhat improvised. Fantastic. And David, that's a contest level speech right there, that rant. So when we have humorous contests, or maybe even twist it and make it international. And all of our evaluators, all of our table topics contestants, to everybody from the beginning, Orlando, Mercutio, and Kate, to then we had our Kate, Puck, and Olivia, Nick Bottom, Shylock, and the Ancient Ghost. Toast to you all. Now I'm Hermia. My favorite quote about Hermia that Helena says I have on a mug: though she be but little, she is fierce. And that is Hermia, and that is who I am today. Though she be but little, she be fierce. Maybe I'm that today and every day. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Beth, for ingraining that into me. I think she's the same. Great work. Everybody, I think I will now shift to Steve, our general evaluator, if he's had enough time to prepare. And it's up to you to kick it back to me for reports or not. To you, our Steve, old man one, the most best old man.
Well, thank you. I will turn it back over to you to for reports. I wanted to make a comment. Well, one of the problems with Shakespeare is that no one understands what in the world you're talking about. And I can back that up because not even the directors in the play I was in knew what Shakespeare was talking about. At the beginning of the play, rehearsals, they asked me to shave my beard. And I had to point out to them, I have a line in the middle of this play where I refer to winter's frost on my chin, meaning my beard. And they said, oh, okay. So they didn't even know what he was saying. I didn't really want to shave my beard anyway, but I said, wait a minute, I can't. I have to refer to it in the play. Anyway, I always thought that was funny. But that was quite the experience, mouthing all these words and not really understanding what it was I was saying. But on to today's meeting, it was a great choice of themes. And I wish I could be with you to go to this Shakespeare in the Park in August, but I will be in Michigan at that time because I would like to see the play that I was actually in and see someone else do it. But it was a great idea to have people, if they were willing, to assume a character from Shakespeare today. Great setup. Had a few bobbles trying to get roles filled, but you managed that with the help of all our Toastmasters with great aplomb. So I applaud you for that. It's never an easy thing to do. On to our evaluators. Now, all of our evaluators were not at all bashful about pointing out things that could be improved for the speakers and telling them the good things they did, a standard approach. Jackie, of course, was given almost a freebie to tell Dave about watching his time. And Dave, you know better. I did want to give Dave one little tidbit of information. Those big, beautiful, long watermelons that you love, they are a variety called Charleston Grays. And if you want them bad enough, you can grow them. The seeds are available. But yes, I love them too, so I agree with you on that one. Now, the other two evaluators also pointed out both areas of improvement and things that they did well. So I think all our evaluators did an excellent job today. I think the meeting has been well thought out, executed, and we're doing very well on time. So I applaud you all for your efforts in making this happen. I'll turn it back over to Kate for the closing reports.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Evaluator. I agree we had a fantastic meeting, so thanks for that. And I agree we can always improve. There were some little tidbits here and there that could be improved upon. Okay, let's get to our reports. While I'm looking at the agenda, I did reference earlier that we went to see My Fair Lady at Shawfest this year. That's not based on Shakespeare, although a lot of other things are. If we have time, maybe I'll touch on that. I don't think we will. But My Fair Lady is based on Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw, which was based on an old ancient myth, a Greek myth called Pygmalion. So there's no Shakespeare in there, but it was still fun to dive into the language. Our reports, let's kind of go in reverse order. How about we hear from first our quiz master and then our WAG master. I think that's all we have since we consolidated WAG. So quiz master quiz master Desdemona, ask us some questions. How will we listen?
Thank you, Kate. Oh, I have a few questions. I am sure you will be able to answer all of them. You guys are all good in paying attention. When is our next outing?
August 16th.
Good job, Lynn. Who did Joe pick as a character?
Orlando.
Orlando. What is the origin of the quote, neither a borrower or a lender be?
In the Bible.
Yeah, actually the origin was the Bible. How did David start his speech?
With an explanation of his Shakespearean character.
Okay. What fruit is not necessary in David's opinion?
Nectarine.
Nectarines.
Who is Mike Licata's favorite Shakespeare character?
A good one. Puck,
Yes.
the mischief maker.
What was the coach's name in Larry's speech? A good Shakespearean name.
Oh, they all were, but I don't remember who was who.
Coach Montague
Yes, very good. Very
and
good.
assistant coach Friar Lawrence.
Well, he better know his own.
And what did Philippides do after he ran?
He died.
He died. Yes. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Desdemona Quizmaster. On to our Wagmaster today. Please give us all of your reports.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Please get comfortable. This won't hurt a bit. Let's start with the Wordmaster report. I thought Swagger was a bit of a layup for a club like ours. I thought everybody would be able to be scoring today, and I was a bit disappointed in total. Kate, you used it 3 times. Carol used it once. Jackie once. Dave once. Larry twice. And Phil once, but that's all I heard. I would have expected more. It was an easy word to incorporate.
Yes, you're right.
Now the Master report. And here at AM Lockport, we understand that filler words extend far beyond the traditional ahs and ums, and they include words like and so. Today I was channeling my inner Edna Stubbs. I was very much in tune with the so's. We are using them a lot. Anyway, let's go through the roster, shall we? Beth had 2 ahs, Carol 5. Joe, you had 1 so. However, 3 you knows. That was your nemesis today. Esther, so's were your challenge. You had 5 of those. Margot had 1 so. I had 1 so. I am self-policing today. Larry, you had an and a you know. Sylvia, you were guilty of the elongated and. You see, you can slip them by the Wagmaster if you're really quick with the ands. You can sneak them through. But when they become and, it's a filler word. You had a couple of those. Kate, you had 1 few restarts. Jackie, 1 so. Dave, 3 so's. Mike, you had a couple of restarts and 2 so's. Now on to the grammarian report. And I am going to fall on the sword. I was impressed early on by some of the fantastic language and words that were used. And then I came to the conclusion that I feel great shame for my rant this morning, where I expressed that I was not a fan of Shakespeare. And I came to the realization that most of that fantastic language and those words were when we were quoting Shakespeare. And I was reminding how truly a wonderful wordsmith he was. So I will fall on the sword. There's a so. I will fall on the sword accordingly. Now on to the report. Steve, you said do my report. I think you meant give your report or deliver your report. I did like a plum. Kate, you mentioned a small contingency of people. You meant a small contingent of people. Dave, nobody can deliver a rant like you. However, while you were ranting, you had some wonderful wordsmithing going on. Pixies, fairies, oblong, abject horror, averse, aversion, virtues. You mentioned gets me nuts. Probably makes me nuts. It's still slang anyway. I'm just being particular. I'm ranting now. You had a gotta. Mike, I like mayhem. Larry, you had a couple of gatas. Jackie, I liked buff it up. And crotchety old man. That was a perfect description of our beloved David Licata. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. No need to fall on the sword, but certainly Shakespeare was a wordsmith. Pretty amazing. Okay, I'd like to get into presenting our awards, and then I have an announcement, and then we'll close up the meeting. Think of any announcements you might have. We have 4 minutes. Okay. Our best table topics presenter today, speaker participants, was Kate. Margot, great job. Margot, fantastic. Voted as our best evaluator today. Also Kate or Lady Catherine, great job. And our best speaker today, the ancient ghost, Phil, bringing the drama and the mythology of ancient Greece in the Olympics starting tomorrow. Watch those Olympics opening games tomorrow night. Great work, everybody. Len just shared an excellent picture in the chat of his character. Len,
Beware the Ides of March, Len.
Beware the Ides of March. That's an excellent knife holder. Len, why'd you choose Caesar?
Who hasn't felt the sharp thorn of betrayal in their life? Et tu, Brute.
Et tu, Brute. Excellent. All right. The announcement from our current president, Macbeth, is this coming Tuesday evening is the next officer meeting, the monthly officer meeting. It's at Panera's, 7 to 8 p.m. So current officers, please meet up at Panera, 7 to 8 p.m. Let Eric know if he needs to bring his laptop to be hybrid, and we'll use the regular link. Any questions or other announcements before we stop the recording? By show of hands or just speak up, please. Ooh, who is our Toastmaster of the day next week? Does anyone have that open? I will do it if I need to look. Let's find out. Our speaker of the week next week, or I'm sorry, our Toastmaster of the week next week
Beth.
is Mom. Beth, thanks. Beth Desdemona, you are Toastmaster. Do you already have a theme or is it to be decided? She's caught off guard, perhaps.
Yes, to be decided.
Okay. I know some have already confirmed their roles. Looks like on the speaker lineup, we have Nancy Ferry, Jackie Kenny is on, and David Jones. Some of you've confirmed, some of you haven't. You know what? It's 8:28. I have enough time. I'm going to just give this whole rundown. Mark, if you would like to stop the recording in the interest of time, feel free. I can adjourn this meeting officially. And now I'll go through the roles for next week. We have call meeting to order is Les, Len giving the inspiration, Anne Marie Wagmaster. We might need a fill for that since she retired. We haven't seen her. Dr. Stevens is the quote master. There's a lot of folks not here today. Tracy's the jester. Joe Budnick, your timer. Stay on late today if you want to talk about how to be timer with the backgrounds or use something in the colors like traditional. Mark, you're our quiz master. Mary has confirmed she's table topics. David Jones has confirmed he's speaking. I'm an evaluator. Marty is an evaluator. Steve is an evaluator. David Channon is our GE. He will not be attending, so we will need a GE. Any takers in the room right now?